Hello, everybody. This is Jason here, another episode of the Inked Up Runner. I am here to talk about the Seven Trails Ultra Festival. I just finished running the Seven Trails Ultra Festival and thought I would do a quick uh, race recap of how it went for me. So, the Seven Trails Ultra Festival is held at Wormslow State Park in Savannah, Georgia. And it is basically a 3.5 mile loop um, that you run around, and then you come back into camp, and then you go back out and you run another 3.5 mile loop. The great thing about the Seven Trails Ultra Festival is it's a timed event. The cutoff, I believe, was 34 hours, and so essentially, you got credit for as far as you ran. So you ran, you know, yeah, 50K, you got credit for a 50K anywhere between, so let's say, you ran between a 50K and a 50 miler, you still got the credit for the 50K. But if you ran between 50 miles and 100K, you got credit for the 50 miles. And then between 100K and 100, you got 100K. And I think you kind of figure it out. And then you get to the 100 miler, right? So that was kind of the format of the race. It was held. The great thing about it was set up in a field where you could, you could set up like a canopy, a tent. The finish line was adjacent to the camp area that you set up in during the race, and they had food, and you could get from a food truck there, hot dogs, etc. there. Then they had the aid station there, and then you would just come in, check in, and then go back out. And what was cool was they actually had, they had bathrooms at the camp area, but then they actually had the park actually opened up the visitor center for the runners to use, like a facility level bathroom, which everybody knows is pretty huge, right? So if you needed, to use the restroom and you didn't want to use a porta john, you had that option. So, the course was unbelievably flat. When as you get closer to the coast, it gets extremely flat out there. So unbelievably flat course, which made, there were no hills to climb, no downhills to go down. So it was pretty straightforward course. Not technical at all. It was rooty, but not difficult, from being able just to run through it. And what else was really cool about this course was the fact that throughout the, course, there was, water off to the side of you that you ran around. And then there was actually some historical pieces of the property that you ran through. You ran through a blacksmithing area, which was pretty sweet. And, they had other different historical, like they look like little teepees off camp tents to the side that were historical you could go look at. So it was really neat. And of course, this being a Jason Green Yeti race, you're going to get that atmosphere that is second to none. Jason really does a great job at welcoming runners and treating everybody with such respect. It's just such a great atmosphere. So let's just break down how the race went for me. So me and a friend of mine, Will, were running it, and then we had some crew there, Kara and John, to help us out when we came in. One thing that we found out straight out of the gate, we learned about sand gnats. Sand gnats are absolutely horrible. You can feel them biting you, but you really don't know the true depth of what they do to you till a few days after the fact. After I returned, I looked at how eat up I was. I mean, my arms and my legs, and man, I tell you, sand gnats, not fun. But anyway, back to the race. So we set up camp early that morning. The race started at 6. However, you could start anytime after that because the clock was going right. And this race was gauged off of how much distance you covered and not the time. So it really didn't matter when you started, as long as you covered whatever distance it was that you were covering. So, but we started at 6 because we wanted to give ourselves the maximum amount of time to go as far as we possibly could. So, starting out, it was dark, beautiful. We ran through the covered trees that you see in all the Savannah postcards, and we got on the trail. you know it was pretty uneventful. The strategy from the beginning was we were going to run an average of like a 15-minute pace because both of us were not in the best of running shape. I know for myself, since the Yeti 100 in September of last year, I have only had maybe one run over 20 miles, and that was my DNF at Mountain Mist. Other than that, I've had some 15-mile runs, some 10-mile runs, but and to boot on top of that, I barely have been running 100 miles a month. Maybe 150 was maybe my peaks, 160, I don't know. It wasn't very much, not nearly what I should have been doing getting into this race, not at all. I was ill prepared for it. And my friend Will also was not really trained up for this at all. So we started, and we decided a 15-minute pace was where we were going to be. And so we just kind of did some intervals, running, walking, averaging out to a 15-minute pace. And then I knew that I was going to probably struggle. I didn't realize I was going to struggle as quick and early as I did. Probably in the early 20s and my miles, my legs started bothering me, which I was like, this is not good. Because any other time I've tried to go out and run 100 miles, my legs typically held strong well into the, 40s, 50s, before they really started kind of, bother me to the point where it was not fun. So we got to the 50K point, and we had already discussed the possibility of Will maybe needing to take a break and rest a little bit to maybe try to pace me later on, because I really, I was going to try to get the 100-mile distance. So we had talked about that, and around the 50K point, Will decided that he was going to go ahead and take a break and let himself rest up. So I came in, got my stuff, and headed back out. And then, I realized then that I was really not in a good spot. Physically, I was having trouble, keeping a good pace. My pace had slowed down significantly. I was walking way more than I was running. Running was way, way challenging for me. I was actually doing what, almost completely walking. My running was very minimal. And so, Will came out with me from time to time in between that and assisted me. And then when I got to the 50-mile point, I was really struggling to keep a decent pace at all. I think my pace had fallen maybe into the 20s at that point, 20-minute mile. So at that point, kind of regrouped. From a food and nutrition standpoint, I was eating very well. I was eating honey stinger gummies and the waffles, and then I was eating like wraps with ham in it. I'd had a McDonald's hamburger at that point. I'd had some mashed potatoes, so I was eating very well. But when I got to around the 50 point, I just wasn't really wanting to eat a ton right then, because I maybe felt like I'd eaten maybe too much. Um, Hydration wise, I was drinking plenty, no issues with hydration. So from a nutrition standpoint, I probably had done a pretty decent job of managing it. I think just I was just having trouble physically holding it together with, just the fact that I just hadn't ran a ton leading up to the race. And so, we went back out. I think it was around the mile 50, right after the mile, I don't know, 54 range. I don't know. I can't remember. Um, and we got about 3/4 of the way through it, and I'd already started using poles because I was needing help to just keep myself moving and to help relieve my legs a little bit. And I told Will that I didn't think I was going to be able to do another lap. And so we got back to camp, and it's funny because I got back to camp, and I felt like there was an army of people waiting on me to try to keep me moving, and get me to go back out. Jason was there, and Patrick Reagan was actually there, and some of the people that was hanging out with Patrick was there, and everybody was offering advice and pushing me to get back out there. But ultimately, I think I just felt like it was not going to come back. I pretty much walked almost nonstop for 20 miles, and my legs had not came back. And I just felt like that at that point, I was going to end up timing out based off of how much time I was losing, um, lap after lap, because I was losing significant amounts of time because I was going so slow. And, at the rate I was moving, I felt like it was just not going to get any better. Plus, I had figured that I'd done so much walking up to that point that surely my legs would have came back by then. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But anyway, I decided, you know, around mile 57 and a half, 58, that I was just going to go ahead and stop. And so I made the decision to stop then, and got the credit for the 50-mile finish, which, just to be honest with everyone, I'm pretty proud of, because of my complete lack of preparation for this. I just did not really prepare much for it at all, compared to my other 100-mile attempts that I had done. Did I want the 100-mile finish? Sure, I did. But being able to go out there and get above 50 miles, um, with very poor amount of training, I feel like was a pretty big accomplishment and was pretty sweet. So overall, very happy with it. From a race standpoint, if I would definitely recommend giving it a try, because it's just fun, right? I mean, it's a different format. We all go out and we all do these races where you run and you have a cutoff, and if you don't hit the cutoff, you get pulled and the race is over, and you're finished. And the great thing about this race is you go out and you do whatever you can do, right? And regardless of how much time it takes you, you just go out there and do it, and it makes it fun. It takes away the stress of running a race, which is something that is pretty, which can be pretty daunting at times, right? So I would highly recommend it. As always, you can't go wrong with the atmosphere and the people, and everything that Jason brings to the table when you come to one of his races. But overall, that was it, guys. Um, I think I ended up with, like I said, close to 58 miles there. It was just a really good time, really fun atmosphere. Course was very cool. One thing I will say before I end it is I was talking to my friend, I was talking to Will, and I was saying, this is a looped course, but like it didn't really ever feel monotonous. It never did. Even when I was, struggling to run or do anything toward the end there, the course never got monotonous. It never got, boring to me. It was very well, it was a very well put together loop. Um, so it was very much, something that I would definitely consider doing again. Um, I will say, if you're going to do this, be prepared with the sand gnats, because um, yesterday which was Monday, and I ran on Friday. I was literally miserable with all of these bites. So, but other than the sand gnats, it was a fantastic time. Oh, real quick before I forget, the packet pickup was really cool. It was held close to downtown Savannah, and it was held in this. I think it was Starland, and you go there and they have all these different beers and food trucks and stuff, which is pretty cool. And then they had an after party there as well, which was pretty sweet. So again, hands down, good time, highly recommend it. And again, pretty happy with everything all in all. So that's it for my race recap of the Seven Trails Ultra Festival. And as always, I'll see you on the trail. Thanks for watching, and thanks for listening.